Okay, so now I'm at the point where I have the parts of my yin yang, but I have some extra parts that I don't want to have. On my purple circle on the top, I have this semicircle on the left-hand side of the y-axis, and down below, I have the orange semicircle on the right-hand side of my y-axis. I would really like those parts to not be there so the flow would continue from the bottom of the gray area, would not have this orange line going in between it, and up above the white area would not have this purple line going in, splitting it into two parts. So we can do that on these two circles by putting in something called a restriction. And I'm going to start with my purple circle up on top. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to make the circle darker, you'll notice. And over on the left-hand side, it outlines in blue which equation goes with what I just clicked on. So if I click on the orange one, it will go to the orange. If I click on the outer one, it will go to the very first one I did. We're not going to have too many equations in this particular drawing, but sometimes you have hundreds of equations. And so when you're trying to find a particular equation, that's nice to know that if you just are able to click on the line, it's going to show you which equation you need to alter. So I'm going to place a restriction on this, and the restriction I'm going to place is that I only want this right-hand side of the circle to show. I don't want the semicircle on the left to show. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to say, you know what? I want X values that are all positive, because you can see as I move my mouse around on the right-hand side of the semicircle, both the X and the Y are positive. When I go to the left, all of my X values suddenly are negative because they're to the left of 0. So I only want X values when they are positive. And again, you can see that if you click and drag on the outside of your circle, that first number in the parentheses, that is your X value, even when it's a decimal. That's your X, the second one is your Y. So we're going to put a restriction in, and the way we do that is we use curly brackets. Curly brackets are found to the right of the letter P on your keyboard. And I'm going to make a set of them, and then I'm going to click inside. So I'm going to tell the computer in the graph, I'm going to say, you know what? I like that circle, but I only want everything on the right. And everything on the right is where X has a positive value. X has a negative value on the left. So I'm going to say only graph things that are to the right of 0, and that is where X is greater than, and you notice it just disappeared because it doesn't know what I want, but I'm going to put in 0. And you can see that my line came back. My line has come back here, but on the left-hand side of my y-axis, that line disappeared because those values are over here on the negative side of X. So now I have this whole white space that I like. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do a similar thing, except I am going to only want X values that are less than 0 because I want to get rid of this part of my line. So I'm going to click on my orange circle, and there is my orange equation. And so I'm going to put in my set of curly brackets, my restriction, and then I'm going to say I only want values where X is negative. So X has to be less than 0 and make that other part go away. So we're going to put in X is less than, that's this, oops, it has to be inside the brackets. You noticed a whole bunch of weird stuff going on. X is less than 0.